Toy Story 3, a movie I'm sure is still fresh in everyone's memory. And chances are that memory is, holy shit, that movie was depressing and dark. Why is this made for kids? Well, if you had seen Toy Story 2, you really shouldn't be all that surprised at the dark turns that it made. It was already kind of alluding to that before. The plot is that Andy's moving out to college, and while he intends to take Woody with him to college and put the other toys into storage, through a misunderstanding, all the toys end up in a daycare center. But the group is split when they come to the realization that at a daycare center they'll never be forgotten or put away into storage. And that's probably the simplest way to put it. I don't want to spoil too much. But again, the general consensus with this movie from a lot of people was that they felt weird at how dark and adult the movie got. And while it's a part of the movie that I think is worth talking about, I wasn't really surprised. Again, they kind of already were doing that in the second movie. The Toy Story movies, despite being about toys, always had an air of maturity to them. And trust me, you don't need much more proof than Toy Story 2. This probably sounds really lazy, but probably the best way to describe Toy Story 3 is that it's Toy Story 1 and 2. It's the best of both worlds. In my Toy Story 2 review, I mentioned how the characters were developed much more and they seem much more three-dimensional, but also at the same time, as far as the jokes go, they just recycled a lot of the stuff from the first movie. So while the story and the characters were stronger in the second one, the jokes in the first one were still superior. The jokes in Toy Story 3 are on par, if not better than the first one, and the character development and the emotional content of the characters is right up there with Toy Story 2. So that must mean that it's my favorite Toy Story, right? Well, I'm still not quite sure, because the first Toy Story resonates so strongly with me in the nostalgia factor. And it's not like Toy Story 3 is without flaws either. Like, I never really liked how they just completely glossed over the fact that Bo Peep is gone for no real reason at all. And as with all the Toy Story movies, the villain in this doesn't get nearly the comeuppance that he deserved. If you ask me, all the villains in the Toy Story movies get off way too easy. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little teary-eyed at the ending, just like everyone else in the auditorium. I hear that they might do a fourth one, and considering how amazing this one is, I really don't think they should mess with it. Toy Story 3 is an absolute treasure, and one of Pixar's best.